Hello viewers, a very good afternoon. Welcome to our another live session. And you know everybody that how good is knowledge. Knowledge is awareness. And having awareness about our health is a very good quality that which we at Apollo are trying to educate all our Facebook users and our Instagram users through this platform. And dear audience, welcome to our FB live session once again. And today we have an interesting topic. We know that COVID is rampant and still among us, but still we shouldn't be neglecting all the other health concerns that we are having and dealing with also. So today our topic is effects of COPD on our lungs. What are the effects of this chronic pulmonary obstructive disease that shows on our body? And today, for this discussion, we have with us Dr. Vijay Kumar Chennamchetty sir, who is a senior consultant pulmonologist at Apollo Hospitals, Jubilee Hills, Hyderabad. So, sir is here today to discuss about COPD, what are its causes, effects, and he's also there to clarify all your doubts. So, if at all you have any doubts, just leave them in the comment section. We will be taking them live during the session, and sir will be answering them. So welcome to our session today.
Namaste, Harita.
So sir, let's start off our session today.
Yes.
As the topic itself says, effects of COPD on lungs.
Yeah.
So what is COPD?
COPD, as we presume, mostly we come across this problem in above 50 years or above elderly age group. So what does it says is, okay, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Chronic, the name itself consists of, it is not a one time go. Like pneumonia, okay, if someone affects from pneumonia, okay, if they get treated for 5 days, 7 days or 8 days, then pneumonia will not recur again. So, but this obstructive pulmonary disease, which is chronic, that means this will, most of these patients who are diagnosed as COPD, they have to start living with it. Okay, it's a chronic problem. Okay, once medications are there, once patient is suffering from the disease, it will go on, go on, go on, and one thing one have to understand as a patient, that when we grow up from childhood to adolescent to adults, so the lung function gradually it increases. Okay, it increases by around 20-25 years. It will become maximum, and then from there onwards it plateaus for another 1 decade or 2 decades. Then slowly it will start decreasing. So this one has to understand. This is a natural phenomenon. Lung function increases by adulthood, early adulthood, and then plateaus, and then it will decrease. This everyone has to understand. And then what we have to understand is, in some group of patients, like who smoke, who have the habit of chronic smoking, and exposure to lot of other indoor air pollutants, and then lot of air pollution. These are the cases where the after plateauing, their lung function drastically speedily comes down. So these are the patients who are called as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease patients. The predominant cause for this in India at least is not smoking again. It is because of biomass fuel exposure and other indoor air pollutants. This is the commonest cause, and of course the second preventable cause is smoking. So we have to this is the thing. And then these patients, what will happen is they will start developing symptoms when we walk for 100 meters or 200 meters. They will start feeling breathlessness. There is a variant of COPD, what we call as bronchitis pattern, where instead of breathing difficulty or along with breathing difficulty, patients tend to have lot of chronic production of smooth mucus and sputum. So this is called chronic bronchitic pattern of COPD. So emphysema and COPD. Emphysema people, they tend to develop more breathlessness, whereas chronic bronchitis people, they tend to develop more amount of sputum production. This is in nutshell about COPD.
But sir, when we are saying COPD affects our lungs,
yeah.
So what are the cautions, the causes, or the symptoms that people should be aware of so that they don't fall into this trap?
Right. See, first of all, we must understand the disease is based on how much cigarettes that these people smoke, and how many cigarettes that how longer they smoke. And also, apart from, as we discussed, the biomass fuel exposure. That means in villages and places where the LPG cylinder is not available, where they burn this wood sticks to generate the energy for cooking and all those things. So there, what will happen is there is a lot of air pollution in within the home itself that they inhale and they become the they develop this disease called COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So essentially, how long we are going to expose to these irritants of airway is and how much concentration we are going to expose. This determines how soon they are going to develop the problem.
So, sir, when you are mentioning about smokers and people who use wood as the for cooking purposes,
Yes,
sorry.
yes,
So they are the ones who are the major victims and all. So,
yes,
sir, who are smoking, we can understand that we can tell them to avoid smoking and all.
yes,
And in rural areas, of course, people tend to have firewood as cooking purposes.
yes.
So, other than these,
Hmm.
are there any other underlying causes also which can lead to COPD?
Yes, sometimes genetic predisposition can lead to development of COPD, particularly early on. These kind of genetic predisposition, once they have like alpha 1 antitrypsin deficiencies and certain morphological variants of like Marfan syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. These kind of patients also they tend to develop obstructive airway disease at a early day, early uh, duration at the earlier age. And other important thing in India is presence of more incidence of lung infections like tuberculosis. When someone develops tuberculosis and if we don't treat them at the early stage, then these patients are tend to develop obstructive airway disease, what we call it as TOAD, TOAD, tuberculosis related obstructive airway disease. This is also a chronic problem, and then patients will invariably dependent on medications for their symptomatic relief for chronic duration, essentially for lifelong. This one has to understand that the duration of treatment in these COPD patients is not for 3 months, not for 6 months, but most of the times it is for lifelong. Harita?
Yes, sir. So we have a question from one of our audience. Sir, what is the risk of hypertensive and diabetic patients having COPD?
See, hypertension and diabetes per se doesn't predispose to COPD, Harita. But having said this, if they have other problems like morbid obesity, and the chance of having it in presence of morbid obesity, if they have other problems like uncontrolled asthma, this can eventually can turn into chronic obstructive airway disease, chronic asthma, which we can label at some point of time as a chronic obstructive pulmonary disease in these patients.
Sir, can dust allergy sinusitis lead to COPD?
Um, yes, one important reason for COPD is poorly managed asthma. It is no wonder one has to understand in entire Indian subcontinent, we have done some surveys where it revealed how many asthmatic patients are completely under control and how many of them are properly using medications. If we look at these surveys, various surveys from North India and South India, Harita, so these studies revealed that not even 1% of patient population are using inhalers properly and their disease is not under control. So this has to be taken with pinch of salt because survey will have always some limitations. So we have to understand major proportion of Indian population who are suffering from asthma are not well controlled. When asthma is not well controlled, eventually a decade later or sometimes a couple of decades later, what will happen is these asthma can also turn into chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
So, sir, we have one more question from an audience saying that what are the symptoms of this COPD? Because we have spoken about the causes or not, so they want
Yes,
to know the symptoms.
very, very, very good question, Harita. lungs per se, any problem if it affects lungs, it presents in a same symptoms like having breathing difficulty, having cough, having a sputum production. So by these are the any you name any disease, these are the common symptoms that are related to respiratory system. So similarly, in presence of risk factors, that is smoking, or exposed to indoor air pollution, or asthma, or allergic rhinitis, these kind of patients, if they develop chronic cough, and if they develop breathing difficulty, how to measure breathing difficulty? A person who can walk for 4 to 5 kilometers comfortably during this season or winters or something, if he started experiencing after exertion maybe around 2 kilometers, he is getting fatigued. That means he may be having COPD problem. So this is a commonest symptom. As we discussed before, there is a bronchitic variant of COPD or bronchiectatic variant of chronic lung disease. These kind of patients, they produce a lot of sputum, so that the cough will be more, and then sputum production will be more. Sometimes during acute exacerbation, that means on top of COPD, there is some lung infection happens, emergency situations may occur. That time, there is a patient may produce along with sputum some amount of blood as well, Harita.
Okay, sir. Sir, we have like seen this COVID pandemic with the similar symptoms. The
Yes,
symptoms that you have mentioned are also similar for the COVID as well.
yes, Harita.
So how do like people understand that yes, these are COVID symptoms and these are non-COVID symptoms?
Right. See, our patients who are following regularly with Apollo, they are all well aware, and these COPD patients who generally are having age beyond 50, 60, sometimes 70, 75, 80 as well. These are all group. They are all well aware that COVID, they are at risk of having COVID disease, and the chance of having a severe disease or complications from COVID is very high in these patients because of COPD and because of age as well. So we have all taught them very clearly that the moment they have fever, the moment they develop fever, and then some amount of breathing difficulty or fall in oxygen levels, that means most of our patients, they have the pulse oximeter with them to monitor their oxygen levels. Our protocol is to we educate them to closely monitor every at least 3 to 4 times daily their oxygen levels. If they have fever and then breathing difficulty with a dip in saturation, okay, we must presume that they may be having infection. But not all respiratory infections in these patients are because of COVID. And we also ensure that take a proper history. Is there an exposure to COVID positive patient? That is very important. And then at our place, when they reach, when in case of emergencies, when we encounter such patients, we segregate these patients into, okay, who are likelihood having COVID patients, who are not likely to having COVID. So yes, CT is an important investigation. We quickly take a CT and then look for any CT findings, CT scan findings suggestive of COVID, and then and there itself we will rule out. Meanwhile, we'll ensure the swab test also performed, nasopharyngeal swab test, to make sure the COVID is not there. And then we immediately segregate these patients into non-COVID areas if COVID is ruled out. And we segregate the COVID patients into COVID area. And then the healthcare will be started according to the whether there is a COVID is there or non-COVID. And then appropriate treatment we will ensure at the earliest.
Thank you so much, sir. We have one more question from an audience. Sir, what are the post-COVID medications to prevent pulmonary fibrosis?
That is a fantastic question. Asked by must be from person with any family member suffering from COVID probably, or else he must be a doctor. So if we see the data, scientific data to prevent pulmonary fibrosis, there is hardly very thin evidence which suggestive of this antifibrotics has role. But having said this, in certain criteria of patients, certain group of patients, we have used antifibrotics, but their role is really, not proven in the market. But eventually in 2021 or 2022, we are going to get guidelines based on the whatever the studies that are going on in these patients. So, but as of now, most of the lung changes what we are seeing in our COVID patients will become normal or at least near normal in 2 to 3 months time. So the general antioxidants are what is recommended, and then maybe some patients generally what physicians are doing is, or some group of hospitals, they are giving very steroids for shorter course of duration. This will not help in patients with severe lung disease who have affected with COVID. So we have to ensure that steroid is given or delivered to the patient for a little longer duration. Some patients require 2 weeks, some patients require 2 months as well. So careful observation and careful titration of steroid dose is the currently the as per evidence it is the treatment of choice for prevention of fibrosis.
Sir, there is another question. Dear
Yes,
doctor,
Harita.
what
Yeah.
is the risk for asthmatics during the COVID times? Many people do not see asthma as a visible disease, and thus many vulnerable asthmatics do not feel safe.
Hmm. So asthmatics and COVID. Okay. Generally, what we have seen so far in our experience, we have my team here have seen close to around 3,000 patients of COVID patients in this pandemic. So what we did observe is asthmatics are not having high risk of complications. But having said this, most of our patients or most of the asthmatics, if they reach hospital at the earliest, as soon as they have the symptoms suggestive of COVID, if they can reach hospital, they don't carry any high risk. But having said this, some group of asthmatic patients, particularly those who are steroid dependent, those who are on, more number of medications to manage their asthma, these are always at a risk of having severe exacerbation during COVID as well.
Thank you, sir. And there is one more question. I think I shouldn't be asking you directly saying, sir, which inhaler is the best to use. But I'll ask a question, sir. Are inhalers safe to use? Because this is a question that many parents also have, because
Right,
for the children suffering with cold and cough, we are
right.
tend to recommend that inhalers and all such things. Is it
Yes, yes,
safe to use?
Harita. Harita, one has to understand that even asthma is a chronic problem. Yes, some kids, when they grow into adolescence, maybe around 40-50% of their asthma will, regress spontaneously. But majority of time, rest of the kids, they tend to have symptoms on a longer duration for chronic years together, decades together. So most important thing in management of this asthma related airway disease is prevention. Okay, if they identify some triggers like some cold breeze, cold items, some usage of preservatives, particularly like soft drinks, which consists of lot of additives, preservatives to store the drink, and some canned and packed items like Lay's, Kurkure. These are the commonest things that we come across as a trigger to these asthmatics. So, if we can prevent this, very good. If we can prevent eating and getting exposed to all these things, then we can decrease the dosage of medications. Just understand, if a patient develops an acute attack of asthma, we need to give lot of steroids orally or intravenously. So during that course, what will happen is we are loading the patients with a lot of dose of steroids. If we use inhalers consist of micrograms of steroids. So microgram of steroid is the safest thing to give to all airway disease patients, whether it is asthma or it is COPD. The inhalers are approved globally for even neonates. Neonates by meaning less than 28 days after birth as well. It is recommended. Whenever there is lung issue, inhalers and nebulizers are the safest way of giving medication. Please do not have misconception that they are unsafe. They are safe, time tested. For the past 4 decades, they are in the market, and they will give instant relief when used appropriately. And more important thing, Harita, they have to understand is they have to. There are two kinds of inhalers. One thing is reliever, and other thing is controller. They have to ensure that these controller medications have to be used properly under doctor's supervision, so that they will not need reliever medications, and these controller medications are time tested, better to use on a regular basis under doctor's purview.
Thank you, sir. And dear audience, as you have asked which inhaler is best to use, I would say that please consult your doctor. And as per the prescription itself, please use an inhaler. Sir, I think that is advisable instead of we recommending, because the condition and the disease situation
Agree,
might be
Harita.
different.
Right.
So let's take the next question, sir. Sir, I have NASH with F3 fibrosis of liver and highly shortness of breath. My PFT was normal but heavy tiredness and heavy dizziness. I'm not sure if this is related to our topic, but if you can address
Nash with
F3 fibrosis of liver.
F3 fibrosis of the liver. Okay. See, some patients have a genetic tendency of liver fibrosis, which eventually can manifest in lung as well. So, pulmonary fibrosis, whether it is occurred in the given patient or not, in those who are suffering from liver fibrosis, have to be ruled out. So, I suggest him to get a official consult with the pulmonologist, and then look for pulmonary fibrosis. If there is a pulmonary fibrosis, yes, a decade back there were zero medication for pulmonary fibrosis. A lot of research is going on, and a lot of improvements in the availability of medications is there in the market. And I suggest, if there is a pulmonary fibrosis, appropriate treatment with antifibrotics will definitely help him in relieving the symptoms.
Thank you so much, sir. And I have one more interesting question related to our topic. What is chest swelling in COPD patients?
Chest swelling in COPD patients. It's a very non atypical term,
I don't know.
Harita. I don't think any.
They might be feeling that COPD patients might be having chest swelling or something related to that.
No, maybe they are assuming probably it as chest congestion,
I might
assuming as because once they have an acute attack of COPD, Harita, what will happen is, okay, the airways which are generally imagine of this caliber, okay, they get reduced in size. Once they reduce in size, okay, one has to understand the freeness with which air flows along the airway will get compromised, and there is a lot of friction uh, for air movement that will cause breathing difficulty. That will be presumed in most of the patients as chest congestion or chest tightness. Maybe terminology is different.
Might be, sir. Yes. Sir, I have one more question. What is the diet to be taken to prevent COPD?
There is no diet which can prevent COPD. Okay, yes, but having said this, protein energy malnutrition during childhood has a direct correlation for possibility to develop COPD in when they grow up. So that's why we have to prevent. There is a huge amount of burden of kwashiorkor and marasmus and protein energy malnutrition in particularly developing countries, including India and particularly in Africa. So we have to make sure that the protein energy malnutrition is appropriately treated during childhood itself, so that they will not develop airway related complications, airway diseases at later date.
So I have one more question. Uh, what is your advice for patients with anaphylaxis and asthma during COVID times?
Anaphylaxis and
Asthma.
asthma during COVID times.
Yes.
See, as per evidence, as discussed this question already, so they don't carry any additional risk of having anaphylaxis or severe asthma. But those who have severe asthma or moderate asthma, let them continue your inhalers properly as prescribed by doctor. Make sure, okay, since it is being almost 7 8 months, you people are not visiting hospitals. Make sure you are under purview of pulmonologist, your own pulmonologist through teleconsultation, and then ensure that your symptoms are completely under control.
Thank you so much, sir. I have one more question. Dear sir, I am a COVID positive. I was on duty in COVID patient. I am a respiratory therapist. I had no cough, mild fever and headache. Now settled. So after joining my duty, what medication should I take post-COVID precautions? As because I am positive and I have to work in ICU at COVID suspected patients.
Yes, very interesting question, dear doctor. So, as a physiotherapist, I must first of all, congratulate you for delivering, so much services in COVID ICUs. And meanwhile, you have become a COVID warrior as well. So, my only suggestion for you is 4 point suggestion. I counsel my patients like this. Make sure your sleep is very well there. Quality sleep is ensured. Eat proper healthy diet. That means at least during acute phase of illness, do not go for too much proteinaceous diet. Take half diet which is easily digestible, like. And next, exercise well. Okay, in the initial 1 week of 10 or 10 days of positivity, when you have significant symptoms, walking is the best exercise. Rest of the time, once you recover from acute phase, enhance your exercise capacity or exercise algorithms slowly. Do not jump and do intense exercises after recovery. And relax yourself. What is missing in the modern day is adequate relaxation. Okay, adequate relaxation by meaning, okay, maybe for some it is music, for some it is maybe meditation, yoga, pranayama kind of thing. Make sure when you are in acute phase, okay, do not do intense pranayama like Kapalabhati and Basrika. That is detrimental. Potentially, it can cause more injury to your lungs. So, my suggestion is become a seer. Seer in Telugu or Hindi means Rishi. Okay, SEER. Sleep well, eat well, exercise well, relax well. This is very important, and while you recover from COVID.
Thank you so much, sir. And one more question related to COVID. Sir, I had COVID positive. I had post-COVID pneumonitis.
Right.
Post-med
Pneumonitis.
pneumonitis. Post-medication course. Now I have constant allergies, allergic wheezing, cough, and pneumonia-like symptoms. What course of further medication do you suggest?
Definitely, it looks like you have post-viral hyperreactive airway disease. What does this mean is, any lung once get infected or from COVID, it has got a potential chances that after viral syndrome, okay, patient's airway can get narrowed, for which inhalers are best choice. Please consult your pulmonologist and then take proper inhaler.
Thank you so much, sir. And we have one more question related to COPD. So, if at all they are suffering with COPD, how long should they be using these inhalers? Is the question.
Yes, we discussed thoroughly about this point in the beginning itself, Harita. Having said this, in the interest of the question, so COPD by term it means chronic. It is going to not reversible in your lifetime. Please understand there is a difference between asthma and COPD. Those asthma patients, they can spontaneously get out of inhaler in future sometime. But for COPD patients, if it is a chronic problem, then the COPD patients would definitely require lifelong medications. Particularly, inhalers are the best way to manage these symptoms, because inhalers consist of microgram of medication, tablets consist of milligram of medication. Microgram of medication is always superior, safer, and this when inhalers are inhaled into the lungs, it doesn't absorb into the blood circulation significantly. It ensures that you will not develop systemic side effects majority of times.
Thank you so much, sir. And as we were mentioning, and as you were mentioning, that there could be emergencies in COPD patients.
Yes,
So, and this at this time, during this COVID time, people are hesitant to reach to the hospitals.
yes,
They are, even at the time of emergencies, they are in a fear that the moment we step into a hospital,
right,
they might test us, and if at all we are in COVID positive, they might shift us elsewhere, and all this trauma that the patient and the family members they undergo. So,
absolutely.
what are the steps and precautions that they need to take so that while they are reaching a hospital, they are in safe zone? And what are the steps that we are taking at Apollo to ensure their safety?
Right. Wonderful question, Harita. First of all, patients have to understand that when they have acute symptoms, what we call it as COPD, acute exacerbation, it is mandatory to have a to get a doctor's consultation as early as possible. Because if you neglect even 1 2 days, the chance of having type 2 respiratory failure, type 1 respiratory failure, by means type 1 means decrease in oxygen levels, type 2 means decrease in oxygen levels along with the increase in carbon dioxide levels. So if such a situation occurs, definitely these patients might require intensive care unit admissions. So what is they must understand is they have to understand that earlier we deal with these situations, earlier we will take care of take control on their airways, doctor with the medications, antibiotic and steroid medications. Okay, the airway disease will be controlled, and then sooner we can discharge these patients, or majority of times I can say 7 out of 10 times, I mean 70% of times we can give a OP prescription itself if we can diagnose at the earliest. But if they neglect, if they land in this respiratory failure, then invariably their course of hospital stay, duration of hospital stay will be increased. Having said this, Apollo for the past 3 4 months, okay, we have a designated areas, non-COVID ICUs, COVID ICUs. COVID entire ICU is placed at a different building entirely in medical college, and this COVID ward is also now segregated into a ID building, separate building. This gives lot of our patients a brilliant confidence about yes, we are entering into a non-COVID area, though it is a hospital area. Okay, it is well maintained, well segregated as per protocols, and then we are delivering such a very good quality of care by applying proper protocols at the both wards and then ICU areas. Harita.
Yes. As we are coming to an end, dear audience, I'll be taking the questions, a couple of questions together. So there are two questions related to, one is related to COVID and the other one is lung fibrosis. Post corona lung fibrosis, will it become ILD? And what is the best antiviral for COVID?
Right. So post-COVID pulmonary fibrosis, okay, we have seen in very good number of cases, and we have a huge experience, vast experience in the past 4 to 5 months. So what is happening is, unfortunately, few young persons, sometimes old persons who is developing this complication, no one is know, and we cannot predict. And we have now developing some artificial intelligence based protocols to identify which patient on day one might land in COVID related pulmonary fibrosis. The research is going on. We have to wait for 3 4 months so that we have a time tested protocol to identify such patients. Having said this, pulmonary fibrosis, in if I identify 100 pulmonary fibrosis patients, so good news is 50% of them are getting better with regular medication, which are approved medication as of now in the market. Whereas rest of the 50%, how they are going to behave in future, no one knows. Definitely, some may develop residual interstitial lung disease as a complication forever, but only time has to tell, because we have an experience, intense experience for the since March April only. Okay, it's all we have is 6 months experience. With 6 months experience, I cannot pronounce that all these patients will land in interstitial lung disease, but definitely few patients are landing in ILD, but how long they are going to, is this a reversible component or not? Only time has to tell. Is there any role of antifibrotics? Time has to tell, and a lot of robust data has to come into the literature so that we can treat these patients confidently with antifibrotics.
Thank you so much, sir. And the second question, which antiviral is best for COVID?
Yes, there is no doubt. Only antiviral as of now, which is available and best, is remdesivir.
Thank you so much, sir. And dear audience, and with this, we have come to an end of our session. And, sir, final words about effects of COPD on our lungs.
Right. As we discussed, okay, it's a natural phenomenon of the course. From birth, adolescent, and early adulthood, the lung function increases, and then onwards, it will be plateaued, and then it will be decreased gradually. By end of probably 80 years, the lung function will be only 50%, which was when compared to peak. So for which, when age is there, okay, naturally these patients have to understand when they are in 60s, 70s, and 80s, okay, their lung requires, it's something like multivitamins. Inhaler is required, so they have to use it properly. Make sure. My only request is, there is a huge. We are in middle of huge pandemic. My suggestion is, please refrain from going out. If at all, if you want to go out, make sure all the SMS thing, social distancing, mask and sanitizer. Okay, unnecessarily do not touch anywhere, and then bring the same hands in close proximity with even eyes, nose and mouth. Protect your T zone from contaminating. So ensure you a happy and healthy life ahead, and make sure, we know that only prevention. We are looking forward for vaccinations, but we have already vaccination in our hand. Social distancing, mask, and sanitization is an effective vaccine for COVID. So please avoid unnecessarily going out into crowds. So this will ensure you to have a happy and healthy COPD. Like, though you are suffering from COPD, but it should not affect your daily routine. And as soon as you develop some symptoms, book a teleconsultation immediately. And then, if doctor asks for a physical consultation, do not hesitate. Okay, particularly with us, okay, we have very robust arrangements for you, so that the non-COVID people will not come in contact with COVID people. So we ensure you a healthy life, and then and we'll ensure the best in the market.
Thank you so much, sir. And dear audience, there are repetitive questions coming about inhalers. And in the beginning of the session itself, sir has detailedly explained about inhalers. So once the session is done, you can rewind and listen to the answers. So, sir, as you were mentioning about teleconsultations, dear audience, I would like to stress again, our Apollo doctors are available online for you. You can book teleconsultations, both audio and video consultations through Apollo 24 by 7 or www.askapollo.com. So you can book on either of the platforms for teleconsultations, and our doctors are available for you. And our emergency services are open 24 by 7. In case of an emergency, do not hesitate to call 1066, and in time medication will save lives.
One interesting before closing remark, last remark. I have I'm doing roughly around 300 plus teleconsultations in a month, which is reasonably good number despite the thing, because my patients require close watch. So they are all very happy. First important. Second important thing, one rare case of COPD, 80 years doctor by profession, general practitioner from Kashmir. He has written a huge letter after teleconsultation. He is been consulting me for the past 5 months through Apollo 24/7. He has a huge appraisal for me, Rita, because we can detect, yes, pulse oximeter. We can see we need not have the patient by the side of us. We can make him walk and then see how much he is breathless, and then we can also make him ask some questionnaire, so that we'll come to know what is the severity of illness, and whether his heart is affected or not. How is his CT scan? We can see in the teleconsultation, And then I have given, he has become a huge fan. Even we stabilize him. Okay, he is regularly, this doctor is regularly consulting at least, monthly once. I said, Dr. Saab, please, see me 3 months later. No, no, he will make sure that, he talks to me at least monthly once. Such a wonderful experience we have with tons of patients. Okay, please do not miss this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. And dear audience, stay tuned. We have more such lives happening so that we can create more awareness among you and so that you can avoid a mishealth or being unhealthy. Sorry. And as sir was mentioning, at Apollo hospitals, all the COVID precautions are at place. Our COVID wards, our fever clinic is away from our hospital. So you need not be hesitant in coming to the hospital even for your regular OPD checkups or your diagnostic checkups. Our doctors are fully geared up and even our staff are fully geared up, and we will take care that you're in a safe environment. Thank you so much, doctor, and thank you, dear audience, for tuning in, and have a good day.